Thank you.
Thank you. And good evening and welcome to the Warren City School District Board of Education regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, March the 23rd, 2021, and the time is, we're going to say 6 p.m. We are live via WSCN on Zoom with live stream available at warrencityschools.org. This meeting is a meeting of the Warren City Board of Education in public for the purposes of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participating via email during the meeting as indicated in agenda item number 11. And if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will call the meeting to order at this time, and if we may have a roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Fowley?
Where'd he go? You're muted.
He's muted.
I'm now here.
Yeah, okay.
Mrs. Patterson?
Here.
Mrs. Shannon?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Glad to be here.
And Mrs. Lamperos?
Here. Everyone is present and accounted for. There is no need for agenda item number 3, executive session, so we will move over that and move to agenda item number 4, communications, and that would be Mr. Shiro.
Thank you. I have 4 communications this evening. The first one is announcement that Governor DeWine has recently signed House Bill 67. I'm going to read some highlights to you from this very important bill. On March 20th, the governor signed this into law, which provides flexibility on testing and graduation requirements for the 2020 school year. Because House Bill 67 includes an emergency clause, the legislation is effective immediately.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind the testing window started this week.
Right.
Following are some major components. It exempts public and chartered non-public schools from administering the state-required American history and the course exam for this year. That's not a federal requirement. That was a local decision. So that is now on hold or possible to be on hold. For the 2021 school year, it permits both juniors and seniors, 11th and 12th grade students who take or retake or is unable to take or retake end of course exams to use their final course grade as would be associated with the exam in lieu of the score on the exam to satisfy conditions for a high school diploma. It permits school districts to grant a high school diploma in this school year, 2021, to any student on track to graduate and for whom the principal, in consultation with teachers and counselors, determines they have successfully completed the high school curriculum or their individualized education program. It permits the school district that has previously adopted a resolution to exceed the state minimum high school curricular requirements, which ours is one of them, to elect to require only the minimum curriculum for the purpose of determining high school graduation for the 2021 school year. It also provides an alternate pathway for graduation for the 2021 school year by permitting a student to qualify for a high school diploma by both successfully completing the curriculum requirements and earning the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal. It expands homeschooling students to not have to provide documentation of their academic assessment as well. And it also expands the timeframes for testing, which is typically 15 to 20 days, considerably longer, such as the English Language Arts one, which opens on March 22nd, which was yesterday. And it now expands it all the way till March 7th. So there are some things that are flexible for school districts in testing, graduation, using course grades in lieu of the end of course final exam score, and all of the good things that I shared with you. We've been expecting this. I have to say, State Representative O'Brien had reached out to me about a month or so ago and said, "Hey, I'm going to a meeting with the state superintendent. What do you want me to tell him?" I'm like, "Get this moving," because testing
Yeah.
is here. We are in the fourth 9 weeks, and we need to figure out where our students are, what they need, make sure their pathway is aggressive as we wrap up this year. So this is huge flexibility for children. Again, as I say, this is all good for children. There's some other things in there regarding some other details, but I just shared with you what's important for kids today.
Okay.
So that's all good. My second communication this evening, again, we sent this via U.S. mail. Mr. Capers did to our high school families or seniors, probably more specifically. So we don't know if they've received it. Plus, he shot it out on final forms to the families' emails. Their end of the year information included in that is that we've been granted flexibility in the go-ahead to hold an in-person graduation. Again, a month ago, we still don't have permission to hold in-person graduation. We have announced our plan for an in-person graduation, and we have announced our plan to tentatively host a senior prom, consistent with the health and safety guidelines that are current. Now, just the other day, I called Mr. Capers after my Wednesday call and said, "Hey, don't put too much out there because they're changing the guidance again," is what I was told in my health department meetings specific to prom. But what I can tell you, we were firmed up and told again on Wednesday that graduation and commencement ceremonies can be in person. They need to follow the indoor and outdoor venue numbers, such as an indoor venue, 25% of fixed seating capacity, an outdoor venue, 30% of fixed seating capacity. So with this, we have announced that our graduation is going to take place on Thursday, May 27th, Mr. Capers, is that correct? Perfect. 7 p.m. at Mollenkoff Stadium outdoors, because if we were to have it indoor at our gym or Packard Music Hall, we would struggle to have 2 tickets per family based upon our numbers without getting a variance from health officials. So this will allow our families, weather permitting, to have an outdoor commencement. Mr. Capers has committed 4 tickets per family. We have to follow all the health and safety guidelines. We are working on this plan. We will update the board as things become more firm. And we, again, will update families as they become more firm. But we have to say, I already know things are going to change. I'm confident there's going to be changes with graduation and prom. Along with prom, the original guidance they put out said it had to be at a restaurant banquet facility venue. Then they changed it and said you could also have in a cafeteria or gymnasium, noting that those are larger places oftentimes than the venues.
Right.
But you have to have food, sit down, just following the banquet and safety guidelines. Mr. Capers is working on those details, and prom has been moved up tentatively to Saturday, May 8th. Is that correct, Mr. Capers? Thank you. So that's what we're looking at for prom. We will follow all the health and safety guidelines, and I've been in communication with John May at the Warren City Health Department, and we are working on both of those. I also put out to our elementary principals. Mr. Capers and I have been working for a couple months on these items. We are not planning to open our doors wide open here the last 9 weeks of school. We are not planning to be having event after event after event. We're not planning on completion ceremonies, kindergarten, 8th grade, whichever. As fun as that is, and as much as parents love them and the kids enjoy them, we just can't do it. It's not within the rules and guidelines that we can pull that off. And field trips are still not going to take place. Our visitor procedure is still suspended through the end of the year, as it was at the beginning of the year. Our plan is to get the end of this year wrapped up well, do it well, get our kids in the rituals and routines of school again, 5 days a week, so that we can look forward to next school year and starting with hopefully more normalcy than we have now. We're focusing on core content for these last 9 weeks of school, and anything else is gravy, and it's a blessing. So I wanted to share that with you guys as far as Warren G. Harding, seniors update, graduation, prom, and what we're doing, some things with the elementary. Are there any questions on that second communication?
I do have one. So, and I kind of touched on it I had asked you earlier about the distancing. So, right now, social distancing is, 6 feet. However, in school, it's 3. And do you have any idea how that will impact prom and graduation? Are they maintaining 6 or is it going to be closer?
Well, two different things, prom, graduation. At this time, I would say that we're following the 6-foot social distancing rule for graduation, for students lining up, entering in, where they'll be spaced and seated. Now, if Mr. May from the health department says you can put your chairs on the field and 3 feet apart instead of 6 with all the kids masked up, we may do something of that nature. So I will follow the guidance from our local health department, and I will walk them through everything because I want to ensure to anyone who goes there that we are following the proper health and safety guidelines, which already that we will, but we want to work with the health department. Again, even with these things, Mr. May has been with Mr. Capers and I in emails and communications. So I can't answer that quite yet. At this point, I would say 6 foot, but it could shift and change. Now, interesting thing with prom is dancing is permitted. So as I said, I know things are going to change. When we say dancing is permitted, we just asked back to the health department. That means slow dancing?
Right.
No, we need to know this. That's
Yeah.
literally our question. Like,
That's closer than 3 feet.
Yeah.
it-
Unless
from
they're
my-
like this.
From my experience, you're correct. But we need guidance.
Yeah,
And our local health officials are doing a fabulous job. There is
they are.
some other departments other than locally that have been lagging up, and I'm not going to get into it. But we've had to make decisions, and John May and I have talked about another situation, and he goes, "Steve, you and your principals use your judgment," because no one was giving us firm answers, and that's exactly what we had to do. So we will follow the health and safety guidelines and enforce them, and we will keep you updated as it gets closer in future meetings.
And then one last question. Approximately how many graduating seniors do we have?
Mr. Capers, I'll defer to you, but I'm saying about 225 to 230 is what I saw, or is that changed?
Yeah. So with the recent guidance, been sort of looking at some things. I think we'll be in the 260 range is where we're looking at.
Oh, really? Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. And
So-
then they're scheduled to get 4 tickets per family.
That's correct. And we could say at Mollenkopf Stadium, we could probably, we have flexibility with that. Our 4 tickets per family with those numbers is under the seating capacity for the home side stands. That's not
Okay.
even using for families, the visiting side stands. So we
Okay.
have, again, we've already worked out the details, and the seating would be the same thing in a family cluster of 4, permissible, stuff like that.
Okay.
And so the
Okay.
graduates are going to be on the field then. Am I correct?
Well, I would anticipate that to be the case.
Okay.
Again, we are working on whatever, we don't want to talk too much in specifics
Yeah.
because it'll,
Mhm.
may
again,
change.
we're 2 months out, and we guarantee
Okay.
you the guidance is going to change. It
Yeah.
always
Okay.
does. So in a perfect world, absolutely.
Okay.
And we have a number of other things, that we have planned, that, will be, there for the seniors, on their graduation. Hope for good weather. If we have a rain out, it'll be the next day, which would be Friday. And at that point, we have to make a decision if we move it indoors and allow 1 or 2 family members, or if we continue to push for a sunny day. So we're going to have to see how far we push this out. Just hope for really great weather that time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Fingers
if there's
crossed.
nothing else on that one, I have 2 other items under communications I'd like to share.
Does anyone else, any of the board members have any questions about any of that before we move on? Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. Mrs. Lamperis, you had stopped in the other day and we had talked, and you saw the scrolls all over the walls of my office. and that basically is indication of our planning and preparation. Usually we do that for next year and midway through the year. So the scrolls of paper and that are my new wallpaper in my office is currently what are we doing the 4th 9 weeks of school? Second area is what are we doing from the end of the school year, June, extended learning opportunities for students, June, and possibly June and July for some students. Then what are we doing to bring kids back in August and start next school year? So we're in 3 areas. Currently what we're doing, what we're going to do in June and July, let's just say summer, and what are we going to do bringing the kids back and what it looks like, and, you know, at the time. And we're with all the variables with COVID. So we are purely planning everywhere we're at. We're at least 6 months out in 3 different areas. But June learning opportunities, extended learning. We are ramping up our extended learning opportunities for students. We've been working with Regina and her team in curriculum instruction, and we are going to be announcing this to staff probably next week, because if we're going to open up learning opportunities for students ramped up more than we've done in the past, and we have a plan, we need to share it with our staff first, and hopefully our staff will be able to step up, or many of them will step up and work with our students for much of the month of June. Our administrators, when I put it out there, they committed. I could say 90% of principals said, when do you need me? And here's dates. I'm definitely available. So I hope we get the same turnout for our teaching staff, because I know they're committed to closing learning gaps with our students here in the Warren City Schools. So that information is going to be made out to our teaching staff first. We need to evaluate our teacher response, and we plan to roll this out to our families after spring break. We're on the same time frame that I said when I announced we're going back 5 days a week. I announced we would put out to families after spring break, June learning opportunities. We're going to work with our staff first, and then we're going to bring that out to families probably, I would say, about 3 to 4 weeks from now. So stay tuned. I think the 3rd week of April, we'll provide that information. Okay. In the last item, Mr. Nicholson may talk about this in his athletic report, but the district made an investment using wellness dollars at our varsity house with new and updated equipment, not just used for our football team, used not just for athletics, but used for all of our athletic programs, and also for academic programs at Warren G. Harding High School. And we are going to have a little showcase. Coach Arnold's going to show off the varsity house on Thursday, April 1st at 2:30. If any of you are available, you're welcome to stop in. But he's going to be, I think, revealing that to the students, as well as some of us that were part of this. I just got this afternoon, hot off the press. So we're looking at doing that. More information should be coming from Mr. Nicholson, or if you have any questions, he could fill in those gaps with that. So we're very excited for this investment for our kids, health, well-being, physical health. And, you know, one of the targets was to help fight obesity, as well as other things. So just providing motivation opportunities for our kids. And time's perfect for that. So unless there's any questions, that would conclude my communications to you this evening.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So we will move on to agenda item number 5, which is the adoption of the agenda. And I would entertain a motion by one of my members.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Oh, was he
Yeah.
muted? Oh, I heard him.
okay, and Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. We'll move on to agenda item number 6, the treasurer's report. Mrs. Scortino, please.
We don't have any, I don't have anything for you this evening.
Okay.
Most quiet.
That's good. Well, you did have great news for us at the last one, so.
Yeah.
All right, agenda item number 7, the superintendent's report. Mr. Shiro, you are back up.
This was kind of touched on earlier in the communications. This is an update on our hybrid students returning to 5 days per week. As I said, we were very excited for our students to come back. We've had good attendance, combining our hybrid A, hybrid B group of students coming in last week. And as I put in my weekly update, we anticipated some shifts and some changes, in the school, bringing back more students. I followed up with the principals multiple days last week. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Everyone's excited. I should say most everyone's excited. The kids are enthusiastic. They need it. Our staff is very positive and supporting. Everything went very, very well. Everything went as expected. And we look forward to a great last 9 weeks of school. Again, we're going to continue to focus on core content classes the most that we can to ramp up this last 9 weeks of school. All of our plans and procedures that we had during hybrid are still the same. I had some questions. Some folks say, hey, now that you're 5 days a week, can my group come back into school? No, we're just not bringing folks in. We're limiting, we're following our plan, exactly what our plan was in August, September, for the opening of school. We're doing the same thing. Just because we combine the groups doesn't mean everything's out the window. Actually, nothing's out the window. We need to follow our plan even more diligently. The only difference is the 6 foot social distancing reduced to a range of 3 to 6 feet. We are using the plexiglass dividers, though I heard that those are no longer necessary, but we are going to continue to do that. That was our plan. We're not changing our plan.
Yeah.
Masking, same thing. Cleaning, everything is the same. We have extra day folks on our maintenance staff that their job is only to go around and sanitize and clean all day long. And we are continuing everything we were doing, not a change. And that's, I think, going to be the key to success for us, is just continuing to stick with our plan. We'll revise our plan for next year, but we just need to get everyone back into those rituals and routines of the good things that happen in school. So if there's any questions or any concerns you have with the return of hybrid students, I know I've touched on it between communications in the superintendent's report. I can entertain anything you have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Shiro? I guess not. Okay. Very good. Well, it sounds like everything's, working as planned. And we thank you.
Working the plan. Thank you.
That's right.
And that concludes the superintendent's reports for this evening.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll move on to Board of Education Committee reports, agenda item number 8. Under athletics, I know Mr. Nicholson is on here.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As you are all aware of, I believe, the big softball field dedication is this Saturday. And we are going to begin that ceremony around 10:50 a.m., about 10 minutes before the first pitch. So I believe everybody's got their invite, and we look forward to seeing you there. The kids are super excited, to watch them step on the field for the first time, and them being able to just park their cars, walk to the field, stay on campus the entire evening. It's a beautiful thing. I was out at the fields earlier. We had softball, baseball, track and field going on, and it's just the harmony up here is just it's really a neat experience for our kids now. This campus is alive and thriving, and I think it's going to be a magical venue for our players. Tennis court dedication, another beautiful new venue that we'll be presenting on March 31st, and that will take place at around 4:45 p.m. That's 15 minutes. Nope, 3:45. Tennis matches start at 4 o'clock. So 3:45. Yes, 3:45 on March 31st. We'll dedicate our new tennis courts. Once again, beautiful venue. And as Mr. Shiro said a little bit ago, we were just informed late this afternoon by Coach Arnold that he's going to be unveiling the newly furbished varsity house. It's freshly painted, new flooring has gone in. He also has part of the varsity house that has the AstroTurf in there, which will allow them to do certain strength and conditioning activities that they've never been able to do before, along with, PE groups and everybody else that wants to participate in working out in this newly furnished varsity house. The weights are actually going to be installed next Wednesday by the group that's putting them in. And within 24 hours, that transformation will be completed. And we're planning on showing it off April 1 at 2:30. And once again, you will receive an invite to come on up and check it out. When you walk in there, once again, the first thing you say is, wow. So I want to thank everybody that was a part of securing this money and, helping our student athletes have even finer venues than what they had before.
If I could make a comment again, I'd like to also thank everyone. I know Dante and Wendy worked very diligently to write a plan consistent with our expectations of investment like this. And Karen, I'd like to thank you for being very supportive in working with that and just ensuring that this was a great thing for our kids. So thank you guys, Bill, working on it as well and liaisoning through the process. Huge. This is another huge thing for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. Financial advisory, I know we don't have anything scheduled. Board policies and guidelines.
Nothing.
Legislative, Mr. Shiro went over House Bill 67. That's
Mm-hmm.
the big thing right now. So that's already been covered. And did Mr. Faulkner join us?
Yes.
Yes,
Is
he
he
did.
on? Okay. Can he hear me? Is he up? I don't see him on my,
You're muted. You're
He's on the
muted.
screen, muted.
okay. Oh, hey, Bob,
Have to unmute.
Okay, you did it.
can
Yeah.
you
I
hear
did.
us?
Yeah,
Hi,
I can hear you. How's my team doing? I still claim the team. I still claim the team. The only thing I would report that things are going well, and I guess my words would be there's just such excitement in the air. People are just sort of glad to be getting out. The students and things are going very well with our students at TCTC. And the other thing that we have decided that we're still going to Zoom, but with the big auditorium, people have said, I just want to be so I can set in someplace. And so our next meeting is going to be, at the big conference room where it's huge and the people who want to come can do that, or they have different options. So things are going extremely well. And also, I wanted to report that the dental program and all, what I think I mentioned that before, it's just going extremely well. A lot of students are, participating in that. Local dentists are being involved, so that's going well. And also, we have a new education director and all in the adult population. And with all the jobs and things that's going on now, the lack of and the new training, that's going well now. So I just say there's excitement in the air. And thanks to, Warren, we're a big part of that. And I appreciate just at least once a month saying hi and seeing all of you.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Faulkner relevant to TCTC? No? Okay. Have they made a decision yet about graduation for them? Or are they just letting the homeschools?
That's, what, usually, as you recall, the whole TCTC thing kind of follows after all the homeschools and all decide.
Right.
They'll decide. But, I think people just kind of want to get out and see each other and do it responsibly and do it right. So I should know more about this here pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's a challenge because you're combining all of those school districts. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
What everybody's doing. But it's all going well.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you and hear you. Thanks. Okay, agenda item number 9 under old business. And I do believe that we have something. Mr. Shiro, would you like to take the lead on this?
Sure. I most certainly can. I would say, we've discussed in the Warren City Schools and in the city of Warren for years, I could say for over a decade, the need, the concept, the conceptual vision for a recreation and wellness center for students primarily and for our community. And we have been working on concepts that could be applied. Warren City Schools has been in this discussion the entire time, from the We Are Warren project all the way through, with groups such as Inspiring Minds, the City of Warren, and many others that the Wien Foundation, all at the table along the way. And I can say that we have created conceptual vision and planning that if the board would give us permission to do requests for proposals, RFPs, and to look for architects or others to present to our administration, that we could look to present something further to the board in the very near future. We have the funding set aside for a project such as this due to fiscal responsibility in the district over the last several years, from both treasurers, from our previous treasurer to our current treasurer, thinking about the future, knowing this could be a possibility, but also when we have a situation like the Willard Roof project, we have the funds to do it because we have ensured that our capital improvement fund is solid. What the concept is, what the vision is, having a recreation and wellness center on campus at Harding High School. We have to invest money at the stadium anyways, because the East Side stands have exceeded their lifespan and are on their last year or years. We also notice our kids from all sports are all practicing in basketball gyms. They're running in hallways, which is basically running on hard concrete. They'd be better served running on asphalt on streets than on the hard floors of the building. And our gym times are booked morning, noon, and night. Mr. Wasser, when he was with us, used to comment, he gets calls, why are the lights still on at the school? Taxpayers would call, because we're still there. Our kids are still there at 9 o'clock at night. So, we're talking about providing opportunities for kids in volleyball, golf, baseball, softball, tennis, soccer, football, basketball, any sport, even esports. In our conversations, we have talked about doing things. Conceptually, we're talking about an indoor track. We're talking about space for all the sports to be able to work and condition indoors. Again, as I mentioned, to free up our gym space, have more appropriate areas for our kids, have additional meeting spaces for the school and the community, providing additional space in the building for a robotics team, which has grown, and very exciting. We also want to have a major health and wellness component and bring in a health partner to offer some sort of medical services central in the city of Warren, not just for our kids, but our kids and community. And that is also a very strong possibility. A lot of folks would want to be partners in enjoying this. So if the board so desires, we can continue to do our work as an administration, bring information back to Athletic Council, which is a board committee, and continue to focus on something big and huge for our students first and our community. And that's what we're looking and proposing to do. That's not saying we have to do it, but I'd like to bring it to the table and start moving.
Okay. And just so I know Mrs. Shannon probably wouldn't be familiar, with all of this, but we, have been talking for many years now about the situation with the safety of the East Side stands, the situation in the locker rooms and the repairs and, the Band-Aids that we have been making, to that structure. And most recently, if you've been on campus, you notice that our band shell has no roof due to some wind damage. So there are a number of things that can be incorporated, into all of this to make it a really just tremendous, item for our community. And so now, at this point in time, I guess, does anyone, do any of the board members have any objections with moving forward for, an RFP to do that process to, get things rolling? So I'll kind of leave the floor open for all of you. You can just, let us know how you feel.
I have no objection.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fowley?
Steve already knows how I feel. If we need an operating levy to run the place, this is the time to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
We may be late.
Mr. Walker?
I have no objections at all. I think it adds value and something that's needed to our community, to our city. to our.
Most definitely.
Yes.
And Mrs. Shannon?
I agree with all.
Well, you've been a part of the of the family
Yes.
for a long time. You know
Yes.
what's going on with those
Right.
stands and stuff.
And
so.
that is a beautiful stadium, and
is.
we have to keep the upkeep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
In our conversations, and I do want to give Mr. Lacy an opportunity to chime in here because he's been, he has a very strong passion for this from the very start of the We Are Warren project. He has been involved with this conceptually. But I can tell the board, you're going to, if we bring a plan and proposal forward and you decide not to do it, you're still going to be spending a couple $1 million at the stadium because the East Side stand is 90 years old. It's exceeded its lifespan. And the band shell alone, 30-some thousand dollars, I believe, to finish taking the roof off that blew off over a series of 2 storms last spring, I believe it was. The board is going to be investing a couple $1 million one way or another. Are we able to hit multiple needs? Again, when I say this, robotics, esports, things like that, we have to do other things as part of any project we do, because this is where our kids are learning and what they're doing and how they're earning their diploma and what is the workforce demanding of graduates. And so we need to feed these areas as well. So again, Mr. Lacy, if you'd like to comment.
Yeah. What we've worked with this project again is not about simply enhancing sports. It is enhancing our community. It's enhancing, I think, wellness, both mentally and physically within our community. Also, we're looking at even, potentially a section for mental health, where, we wouldn't be holding counseling sessions, but would there be areas for yoga and meditation and social emotional learning areas that we all instill within the school district itself, where we feel that would be very powerful. This just goes back a very long way, where our community has shrunk to a certain extent, and when we remade our school district with new buildings and tore down the old buildings, and the fabric of the neighborhood changed. And kids were not just running next door to go play anymore and play in the playgrounds and all of those things. Now, statistically, the majority of kids have to go someplace where it's organized, where it's structured, where the families know that it's safe. Unfortunately, right now, other than our schools, I'm not sure that such a place exists within the city of Warren. And now we also have the capacity to build on that. And so I think this sends a very strong message that I know that the mayor and safety service director would be in support of. And I think the community will really wrap their arms.
He froze.
It's okay. He was almost done.
And I could just finish up and say we've had some connectivity issues at the board recently, and those are being addressed as far as our wireless connection. Again, when the board purchased the current Board of Education building, and I know I'm going on a side note here, connectivity wasn't a high level of concern for day-to-day business and operations, and so we don't know really. I can't identify exactly what changed a couple of weeks ago, but the worst office in the building is mine, only second to Wendy's, and apparently John's being impacted as well. So, thank you, Mr. Lacy.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
If you have any questions, again, my biggest thing is to have the blessing of the board to continue to explore down this pathway and to bring more information back to Athletic Council and the board as a whole.
Okay. Well, I think you officially have the blessing this evening. So, please. And just as a side note too, that health component, partnering with, a health agency to provide that, something on campus to our students and community. You know, back when we were exploring building new school buildings, that was a component in some districts that we had gone to visit. And, you know, that I'm really excited about that.
We've done some amazing things, just even with our health partner for children, which is different than what we would be looking into with Akron Children's Hospital. They stepped up and vaccinated our staff and those that are working, you know, as part of the 1B group. And I could report, I put out, based upon the numbers I received from Friday, that are, and I only have these numbers for our teachers and administrators, but we now exceed 80% vaccination rate. We are over 80%. I can't get it down to the exact number, but I know I told you we were just under. Well, when we had extra doses of vaccination, we put it out to our staff. Is there anyone who has reconsidered, changed their mind, or they didn't get it because they had COVID and their physician told them not to do so? We are above 80%, and I think that's great. That's 4 out of 5 adults. And there, as I said, there are others that have received it through other sources, that they had an opportunity, or they took their parents to get their shot and they got one as well through the county. So I'm just saying the shots we've administered, having a strong health partner, Akron Children's Hospital, Mercy Health, is also strong with our students at many of our schools of doctors. These guys do a fabulous job by us and couldn't be happier. So I think the health component is huge and it's much needed. And we've seen a big difference in what we do in school, you know, just with what we've done with Akron Children's. And I would hope that to continue in everything that we do.
Excellent. Okay, well, you got your blessing. So go ahead and move forward. And just so the board knows, as the administration, you know, gets those plans and conceptual, you know, images and whatnot, the athletic council will be the arm that this will come through. So the athletic council, as it sits right now, we will then be reporting back, you know, to the board. So, yep. So that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for, you know, everyone for all your work on that. All right. Do we have anything under new business?
I have one other item for the board to discuss under old business or new business.
Yes. And you know what? I had it written down too. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay.
I did.
So do you want to take it?
Yes. So the April through June board meetings. Now we're covered to do this remotely, but per legislation through July 1st. And I guess I just want to kind of get a feeling from everyone where you're at. Are you comfortable continuing in the Zoom format? Do you want to go back to open meetings? I can say that if you wanted to do that and go back to in person, I would highly recommend that we utilize the library at Harding, you know, for social distancing purposes. So the floor, you know, is yours. Let's talk about it. And please be honest about your level of comfort in you know, in meeting in person. So go ahead.
Well, I am fully vaccinated, so I'm almost okay with it. When I read that, I was thinking about how many of us are fully vaccinated.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know that, you know, being people of certain ages, and health issues.
Yeah.
You can say it, Jackie.
Julian's our youngest. He's
I'm old, Jackie. You can say it.
Oh, John.
I'm a senior citizen.
I'm getting there very fast.
Listen, I tell everybody I'm high risk for everything but longevity. So,
Julian,
I fit all the check marks. But yeah, I think right now, while everybody probably would be more comfortable just being at home, at the same time, we're asking our students to go to class full time. We're asking our staff to work in the environment full time. I think it's only fair that we would have, you know, the meetings. I think Harding at the library, definitely. You know, just like we're stepping the students in slowly, with guidance. I think we could be social distanced, but we still have the closed meetings, allow people to email in. I think it would be fair for us to be at Harding.
Yeah.
Today will not be a good day because I have grass stains on my jeans, but
we only do the table shots.
Get last for crying. Yeah.
This goes back to something that is going to happen. We're going to have a report on the website usage and the Zoom usage of these board meetings. I really wonder, and I'm okay with going back at the library. Both Suzanne and I have had both of our shots. So I'm okay to go back. I wonder if more people are attending because we're Zooming.
Good.
I mean, this,
yeah.
If we're reaching the public better by Zooming, we may go back to the library, but the meeting probably should be continued to Zoom also.
To be broadcast. Yes. Yeah. Regina, I'm going to let you speak first before I go.
My biggest issue with the April, May, and June span is that I won't even begin getting the vaccination until April, to almost the end of April. So that would be my biggest concern, is that I'm high risk.
Yeah.
And then that just makes me more, susceptible. It puts me in a little bit more danger than everybody else. The social distancing, I work, and I social distance, I wear a mask. So if we all decide to go back, that's fine. It's just that for me, my concern is that I'm probably one of the ones that haven't even begun receiving the vaccination because I was a COVID person.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I'm fully vaccinated now. Not fully immune. That's just, it's kind of like an insurance policy. I did have COVID, so I've had it. I'm vaccinated. And, I still am, social distancing and masking. And I get very frustrated when I see people that, are kind of just, I've vaccinated. I can just do whatever I can, I think we just, as Steve had said earlier, continue, all of those protocols that we're practicing to do that. So, because we're not, this is not over. This is not, it's not over by any sense. And so, perhaps, perhaps we can do a hybrid, because I do like the fact that our meetings are now via the Zoom, that they're accessible to everyone and the community, and because for years, we've moved we went through a series of, moving the board meetings to the buildings to get back into like the neighborhoods so that it was easier for, the families to come in and attend. And, Board of Education meetings, unless there's, some really controversial issue, they're really not well attended in person. You have our administrators are there, our support staff, and, that's kind of basically who, we hear from. So, even with us, even though we have that component for the email participation out there, we have not had any this entire time. We had there were a couple, but they were addressed elsewhere. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that would have been discussed at a public meeting. So, but other than that, there really hasn't been anything. So I think, my opinion would be that, because I do agree with Jackie, how many people are vaccinated, and as long as, if I'm comfortable going, and, Julian, if you're comfortable, whoever's comfortable going in person, I still want us in a larger venue than, our boardroom at the administration building. And the other thing is, like Regina, perhaps you can just Zoom in
Yes.
Okay.
until you're, I mean, right now, by law, you can zoom in until July 1st.
Yep.
I can't do anything for you beyond that.
Okay. Well, I
That's your deadline. But you know what I mean? So perhaps we create like a hybrid, where it's some of us are there and, some are not. And who knows? I mean, that's the other piece too. If somebody is not well, isn't feeling well, you can
Then
still
you can
still perhaps,
Absolutely.
be available to
Absolutely.
listen in on the meeting. So I mean, I'm throwing that out there. So what do you think?
Patty, before this brings up an interesting point, and we'll address it to Steve. Do you expect all 5 board members at graduation? Are we tossing the diplomas from 6 feet away?
Well, I was actually thinking of that, but I thought he kind of covered that when he said we're not going to get into details yet. And
Okay.
that was kind of my question. Like, well, wait a minute, are we all going to be there? Because I'm not feeling shaking 260 hands.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go, like this. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but I think those are details that
Okay.
will come along as
one micro crisis
plans.
at a time, Mr. Fowley. One micro crisis.
The devil is in the details.
Yes.
And I can say Mr. Capers and I are prepared to share that information with you guys again on what we would request of the board in regards to presence, but we'll save that until again one micro crisis.
Yeah, as we get closer, because things could change.
Yeah. So Patty, for me, I'm not going to receive my first vaccinations until the end of April.
Right.
So I would for our April meeting, I definitely would want to Zoom, and then come the May meeting, I could then make another,
see where you're at
decision after I see where I'm at.
Yeah.
But for me, I would definitely, if at all possible, I would like to sit out and just Zoom in April.
Okay. That's fine. And then do you think that we need to I don't think there's any legality to it, because by law we're allowed to Zoom. Yeah. So whether some of us are there and some are Zooming, I think it should be fine.
The only thing you're correct. I don't see any legality issue regarding everything that we've discussed here. The one thing I would like to bring forth to the board, and I already mentioned this earlier in the meeting, that we currently have a no visitors protocol to the schools and the school buildings. So is the board, you need to address if you would allow visitors and how many you would allow, or would you continue to follow the same protocols that we've in place during the day, which means the meeting is closed to in-person visitation, but is live streamed. Again, it's a board decision. I would just I would just amend my plan if you wanted folks in person.
Gotcha.
But as of right now, I've extended it through the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah. My feeling on that, I think that we honor the district's no visitor policy.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of us, being there. Once again, they have an avenue of, emailing in prior to a meeting, and that
that's why
and then just through the end of the year, when July 1st hits, then we would open everything back up, unless things change.
Right. That's right.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Totally agree. Yes.
Okay.
One step at a time.
And if you would give me the latitude, I would like to talk to Frank and see which room is best for him. Whether he may say, Steve, it's best if we do this on the stage at Harding High School. He may say it's best for me to do this in the library. As long as it's a large open venue like that, will you give me the latitude to pick the room?
That's fine. And the other piece to that, I know he may say like WSCN is the best place to do it, and we've done that with 4 of us in the room.
It's just not open.
Exactly, and I'm okay with that. So if that's the point, and we can only have 2 board members there, we can rotate.
Yeah, we'll work on it. And
you know what I mean?
Because that's what we did before.
So yeah, I'm fine letting him figure out what the best avenue and location is, and we'll just tag along.
That's an administrative issue.
Yes.
Yes.
I will find out from Frank what works best so that we can continue to broadcast without any
Okay.
kind of concern interruption.
Yeah, and I
as
think
well
that's
as keeping health and safety as the high
yeah,
priority.
that's the big thing is we want to continue regardless. And I think even like, let's start thinking too, when we get back, you know, what if things go back to normal, that it would be great to still continue to be able to broadcast this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just because of the accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's something we can work with, again, with Frank, that if we need to find, I would say, an interim home for our meetings, when again, it does open up to the public, that we plan, you know, for another 3 months, 6 months, then we'll get the technology in place and pick one place
Yeah,
that we can broadcast from that would be conducive to the technology needs. And so we'll set something up for a short term and long term until such time that
just kind of get the wheels rolling on that. Okay.
Absolutely. No problem.
Okay, so you've got your answer, Steve. You're good.
I'm good. We got it. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Did we have anything under new business? Did anybody have any? All right. So
it was busy.
Just thank Steve for his response to Mr. Whitehouse on behalf of the board.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it for me.
All right. Okay, so on page 3, item 1, Mrs. Patterson, please.
Okay, the treasurer's recommendations, the minutes. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the March 2021 board minutes be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barrows.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 4, item 2, Mr. Fowley, please.
The monthly financial statement. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the February 2021 financial statement and short-term investments made by the treasurer during February 2021, Exhibit A, pages 23 through 24, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 6, item 3, Mrs. Shannon, please.
Approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant operations. It is recommended. Operation. Yeah. It is recommended the resolution listed below to approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriation A be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about this? Okay, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 7, item 4, Mr. Walker, please.
Tax rates. It is recommended the resolution listed below for tax rates for the next succeeding fiscal year, commencing July 1, 2020, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding this? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 8, item 1, Mr. Fowley, please.
Under superintendent's recommendations, the Ohio Schools Council cooperative advertising and receiving bids for school bus chassis and bodies. It is recommended the resolution listed below to approve the Ohio Schools Council cooperative advertising and receiving bids for school bus chassis and bodies be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 9, item 2, Mrs. Patterson, please.
Real estate purchase agreement between the Board of Education of the Warren City School District and Downtown Development Group, LLC, for the sale by the board and the purchase by the Downtown Development Group, LLC, of the parcel located at 363 Harmon Avenue Northwest. It is recommended the resolution listed below granting option to purchase real estate between the Board of Education of the Warren City School District and Downtown Development Group, LLC, for the sale by the board and the purchase by Downtown Development Group, LLC, of the parcel consisting of 1.0914 acres located at 363 Harmon Avenue Northwest, Warren, Ohio, 44483, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 11, item 3, Mrs. Shannon, please.
Acceptance of gifts. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding acceptance of gifts be approved as submitted. And that's the Ohio Ceramic Supply Company for $2,500.
Second.
Thank you. And we always thank our benefactors for their support. And this was for the art department, ceramic bisqueware. So that's important for the kids. Very good. Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 12, item 4, Mr. Walker, please.
Tuition reimbursement. It is recommended the resolution listed below for tuition reimbursement be approved as submitted. And we want to congratulate Paula for her accomplishments.
Very good.
Second.
Thank you. And go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 13, item 5, Mrs. Patterson, please.
Personnel recommendations. It is recommended that the resolution listed below regarding personnel items A through K be approved as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. And that will take you to page 21. Of note, we have 2 military leaves to recognize, one on page 15 for Zachary Cower and one on page 19 for Miles Bassard. And we thank them for their service
Yes. Thank you.
and support that.
Yeah.
And I don't see any retirements or anything of that.
No.
There is a
There is.
Retirement
Oh,
on
is
page
there?
14. Yeah, Laura
hold on.
DeToro.
Okay.
That's that too.
Oh, you know what? There we are. Okay.
And if I can make one comment, if you would allow me to, please.
Yes.
Under
Oh.
item A, Emily and Megan wanted to attend the board meeting in person to be in attendance. And, we told them that it, is closed. So hopefully they're watching this evening and hopefully this vote will welcome them to the Warren City Schools.
And I will say, as Mr. Faulkner would always say, welcome to the A team.
Welcome to the A team.
From the board. Very good. And congratulations to Laura DeToro and thank her for her service also, and good luck on her retirement.
Yes.
Okay. And if there are no further questions or comments, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, and the motion carries. And we don't have anything under public participation. There is no need for executive session. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Can I
So
say
moved.
something before we adjourn?
Wow. Yes, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just two quick things. One, it's been a hard couple months here, with some sickness I've had of my own, then a reaction from the COVID vaccine, but I'm still glad I got it. And I am fully vaccinated. And then with the sudden and unexpected loss of my father, I do appreciate the outpouring of love that we've had from numerous staff, administrators, and board members, not only for myself, but my sister, who's also an employee of the district. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it. And not
We are a family.
Yes, definitely, really.
And when something like this happens, you really feel it.
Yes,
You feel that, yeah.
So we definitely, on behalf of my mother and our entire family, we really do appreciate it.
And you're in our prayers.
Yes, thank you. And on a just so I don't end on a heavy note, a shout out again to the even though they didn't place, I guess we had one of our staff members, a supplemental contract, Amanda Colbert, who got Coach of the Year for what she did for the robotics team.
For the robotics, yes.
At McGuffey. So kudos, going to state, getting Coach of the Year for them, and for the excellent experience that they've had through this season and everything they were able to do. So, shout out to the tectonics over at McGuffey. So,
Well, and perhaps, at a future board meeting, we can have them join us, like virtually. That would be maybe Mr. Shiro, if you could maybe work that out, that would be awesome.
We'll work on it.
I know, that's one of the other things we always, we do enjoy having the students come in and recognizing them. And this has kind of changed everything. So, if we can, perhaps do that, that would be great. Okay. All right. So I know there were a number of people that yelled, yes, adjournment. So who wants to be the owner?
I'll own it. I'll motion.
Okay. All right. So I've got Mr. Walker. And do I have a second? Thank you. Thank you. And with that, call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker,
Enthusiastic, yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Julian, get a good leash for the dog and go walk it.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes, the time is 7:07 p.m. The meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Stay safe, get vaccinated, continue wearing your masks, and good luck to all of our students as we move through the last few months of the year here.
Go Raiders.
Go
Take care.
Raiders. Good
Thanks,
night,
all.
everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the weather.
You too.